video of the unknown. What is it? Is it real? And what is it doing there?
Now they're speaking out, saying there are UFOs in U.S. airspace and they need to be taken seriously.
A family in Highland, Michigan believes their house is actually haunted and thinks something is harming their little girl.
They're unidentified in U.S. airspace.
The U.S. Navy has finally acknowledged that videos appearing to show UFOs flying through the air are real.
I'm Todd Bates. I've been investigating the paranormal for years, yet still have no definite answers. Join me on this mysterious journey as we discuss all things paranormal, right down to the little gnomes. Why do millions experience these mysterious phenomenon, yet we have no proof? Welcome to Haunted Voices Radio, where I try and gather the pieces that may one day form yet another puzzle.
And a good evening, one and all. Welcome. Haunted Voices Radio Live right here on WLTK-DB.com. Head on over there. You guys can watch and chat over there as well as all the fun social media platforms out there, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, you name it, all under WLTK-DB. I know that's a little hard to remember, folks, but it's okay. It'll come to you in time. Nicole, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, TGIF, my friends?
I am so glad it's Friday.
Oh, I know.
It's going to be a restful weekend, a cold weekend. Has the weather been really weird?
Yeah. It's actually, it warmed up a little bit, but we're getting more rain tonight, tomorrow, and then another storm next week. But LA and then up to Northern California is just getting flooded. It's insane. So yeah, it's nutty weather out here for sure.
We're getting 70s one day, 40s the next.
Yeah. Oh, that's hard, man.
Yeah, it makes it real windy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I hear you on that. Just hunker down and stay safe. That's all
maybe
I
it's
say.
that. Maybe it's that HARP, that government weather. Maybe.
Oh yeah, in Alaska. Oh yeah, it's funny. I was just looking on their page like 5 days ago. How funny is that? Yeah, weird.
Who would have thought?
I know.
We got an awesome show planned for you tonight on this beautiful March the 10th, 2023. Hi, Meg.
Hi, Megan and Jackie.
We've got Dr. Heather Leigh coming on here. We're going to be talking about her journey. We're going to be talking about her books, investigations, Gettysburg, all kinds of cool stuff. And she has a PhD. We're going to be discussing that as well. So if you folks have any questions, feel free to post them over there in the comments. We'll see all those coming through here and we'll get them on screen. Nicole does awesome with that. She's fast.
I try.
I would screw that up like no other. But
it's just pushing buttons, Todd. It really, I'm just kidding. I'm joking.
Yeah.
It's hard though. It's like sometimes I think I'm too quick with it. I'm like, oh, I got to get in the rhythm here. I'm not sure what that is.
Gotta get in the rhythm.
But I try, people. Okay, I try.
But we're going to be talking about some amazing things tonight. And, I'd like to get her take on the current paranormal community, paranormal unity, all of these fun things that, because so much is changing.
I know.
And in a way, it's good. There's things being developed. There's things going on.
Yep.
But in another way, it's everybody wants recognition for it. Everybody wants.
Yeah.
And it should be about the research. It needs to come back to the research, I think.
I agree.
In my opinion.
I agree. Good point.
If they put as much energy into that as they did getting their verification check mark on Facebook, then I think we would learn more about the other side.
I hear you. I do. I really do.
And it sucks because I'm retired from it, Nicole, and I can't go out there and help. And I want to. There's so many things that need to be solved. There's just so many empty blank spaces that we just really need to work on.
I
That's
agree.
all.
That's well said, Todd. I agree.
Other than that, we're shiny, happy people.
Right, most of the time.
But without further ado, let's bring in our guest here, Dr. Heather Leigh. Welcome to Haunted Voices, Dr. Heather. It's great to have you.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. And actually, after hearing your guys' weather, I'm not going to tell you what it's like down here.
Oh, just a hint. What is it in
Mid
the
80s
80s?
and sunny.
Oh, you're in Nevada, right?
No, Florida.
Oh my, oh,
I
That's
moved about
right.
a year and a half
No.
ago.
that's right. I remember you saying that. Oh my gosh, Florida.
Yes.
Wow, that's so nice. Oh my
I could have
gosh.
went for some of that today. It would have been
Yep.
nice.
Yep. Yep.
Now, your journey started at a young age. You're a teenager.
Yeah. Yeah, I was, I want to say 16 or 17. I can't remember which one, but it was about that same time, junior, senior year of high school.
Tell us about it. What happened? I mean, there's with your grandfather.
Right. Yeah.
What happened?
To give a little backstory on it, and I don't talk about it too much because it's amazing. It's been 40 some years and I still tear up over the whole thing. But it's my grandfather I was 5-ish, like between 5 and 6. And I was outside backyard playing in the snow with him, and he was shoveling the patio of their home. And he just got frigid, fell face first in the snow, and had a heart attack right there in front of me. And even though my family got me out of there right away, it's still, I have nightmares about that to this day. And I was always close to my grandfather. He would be sitting there watching TV, and I would lay on his legs, and his legs would be propped up on a stool, and we'd share ice cream together. And I was just really close to him. Then when we had had sold the house and had moved, and my grandmother had passed also at this time, but she had moved with us. So some of her stuff was in the new home. And around 16 or 17, I started seeing my grandfather. And
Wow.
he would appear, I always would yell at him because I'd be brushing my teeth, spit in the sink, stand up, and he'd be in the mirror behind me. It's the crap out of me all the time. I would see him walking down the hallway at the foot of my bed. Several times I would just see his head floating like he was just peeking through a veil looking at me.
My goodness.
And it was very interesting to me because back then, I mean, this is in the mid 80s, paranormal activity was believed to only occur because someone died there or they had some type of connection to the property. And he had never been at this property because we bought it well after he had passed. So that got me going to the library, asking questions, of course, which is always a good thing to make sure there's no mental illness underlying. My parents sent me to a psychiatrist because they thought, back then they thought I was crazy. And it just kind of all snowballed. And ever since then, I started being kind of like a behind the scenes. I would do a lot of research. We'd go on a tour of some location, and I'd be the first person to sign up for the haunted ghost tours of the town and the community. And it was all about the history, all about, my favorite time frame is the Civil War. So it was always the history of the areas. And my parents would go, they were big Civil War. I don't really want to use the word fanatics, but you guys get the idea.
Oh, yeah.
And we were always into that time era. So the interest from my grandfather and my researching kind of snowballed into our vacations that we would take. And from there, it just blossomed. And to fast forward about 6 years ago, I kind of dove in and said, you know what, I'm tired of being in the background because I was tired of seeing how this field was going. And I just decided to jump in and kind of give my insight into how I feel the field should go.
Wow. 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 Wow.
Yeah.
Now, I have a question. So, back when you were, a teenager and that happened, now being in the field, have some of your beliefs or opinions or viewpoints changed from maybe your initial first paranormal experience?
It's constantly changing. And even the one thing I forgot to bring up is 5 years ago, I think now. 5 years ago, I was diagnosed with stage 5 kidney failure.
Oh,
And
wow.
it came out of the blue. We had no idea. Even the doctors did the biopsy, and the biopsy came back that it was a healthy kidney. But my blood work was showing that my kidneys were failing. And during that time after I was diagnosed with that, my grandfather, I hadn't seen him for years. He started appearing to me again. And I do believe it's attached to some Raggedy Ann and Andy dolls that my mom had sent me that we had in the house that were his. And then she finally sent them to me as like a way of comforting me because she knew I always loved them. And he started appearing again. So I truly do believe that he's either attached to the dolls or it's a portal for him to come see me.
Mm-hmm.
But he came to see me one day, and, in my dream, he told me it wasn't my time. I woke up, he was standing beside my bed with his hand on my arm, and then he slowly faded away. And after that point in time, my kidney disease started improving, which is not heard of in the medical field. It's very rare to have your kidneys improve without, a transplant. But now I went to see my doctor a week ago, and it was one of those things. He goes, I'm not even going to see you anymore. He's like, you are out of the woods. Your kidneys are working great.
That's incredible.
And
Amazing.
it was like my grandfather knew that it wasn't my time, and something he did or something he knew just kind of turned my life around.
These are the types of stories that I love to hear, and it paints the afterlife in such a beautiful light. These types of stories. So thank you for sharing that.
And it gives you chills here on Earth.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Totally. Totally.
I mean, these are some amazing things that you went through, and there probably had to have been a lot of questions going through your mind. What's doing this? How in the world is this even occurring? What made you educate yourself, dive into this, and just really find your answers and find your PhD, as a matter of fact?
Mostly because nobody had, of course, nobody has the exact answer about why everything happens, but there were so many different answers out there. And I wanted to kind of educate myself as much as I could with all the different possibilities to kind of weed out what wasn't possible.
Mm-hmm.
It was, again, why my grandfather was seeing us in a home that he hadn't lived in, but we had those dolls in that home. And then I stopped seeing him when I wasn't in possession in those dolls because I moved out and my mom had them. So it was kind of one of those things that kind of taught me. And it was weird how I got into the PhD. Dr. Douglas Kelly, he runs the Institute of Metaphysical and Humanistic Studies here in Florida. Amazing guy, love him to death. I knew him before I registered for school. But one day in Nevada, of course, 2 hours outside of Area 51, it was, for some reason, I had a mild obsession with aliens about 5-6 years ago. And I was watching every alien documentary, every possible TV show. It was just, I was like engulfing myself in it. And one day I did a Google search for, I can't even remember what it was for, but Dr. Kelly's school popped up. And I was like, let me look into this a little bit more. And I dove into it a little bit deeper. And his school is amazing. It's a secular school. So it offers everything from religious studies to, doctorates of divination. You can take individual courses through St. Thomas Francis University, I think is what he also owns. And it's just, his programs are amazing. It's not as easy as I thought it was. Because he dives into the science behind it. You take a deep dive into thermodynamics, and you learn about the different stages and how it contributes to paranormal activity. You take a deep dive into EVPs, and not only just how to analyze them, but how they're created, how to read an EVP on a spectral diagram. Mm-hmm. Instead of just looking and listening for the voice. And it was a lot more challenging than I thought it was, but it was very rewarding in the end.
Wow.
See, that's amazing. I wish there were more, more like that. It was, I wish more investigators would go to places like that to learn these things I would attend a school like that. I would love a school like that.
Yeah. And it's more about, I don't want to say I get harassed about it all the time, but whenever anybody who's skeptical of it, it's like they go through my credentials and they're like, oh, what's a certified EVP technician? It's like, well, take the class and find out. or Certified Paranormal Investigator. I also have that. And these are just ways that the school says, yes, this person took the time to educate themselves further.
Exactly.
It's not so much that it's, an accreditation across the board, even though they are accredited by the American Association of Psychics. It's just more or less a piece of paper that says, hey, Heather took the time to take this course and learn more.
Amazing. One of my friends in the Pacific Northwest went there as well, and he has great things to say about it. So
yeah, and I love it because you can go at your own pace. You take one class at a time.
That's what he said. Yep.
I did it in a year, but you can, I know people who are still in the program and they've been in it for 3 years.
Oh, okay. So he said
they take it when they can.
Everybody varies.
Yeah.
And it's good to have these programs out there because we have a lot of new people coming in. We have the next generation coming in here. And I want to get a break out of the way and come back and talk about that. How the paranormal community's changed, para-unity, kind of get into Gettysburg as well.
Right. We're all like, okay, here we go. That's a rabbit hole right there, folks.
These are things that must be discussed, right?
How long do we have?
I know, right?
And with that, folks, we're going to take a short break. We're going to be back with more Haunted Voices. Dr. Heather Leigh, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Want to see your video here? Sponsor WLTK-DB Talk Radio and watch us make that happen. With your paid sponsorship of $80, you receive a professional produced audio, video, and banner placement on our station. Not only does your sponsorship air during our live shows, but also replayed on our podcast and heard by hundreds of like-minded people. Visit WLTK-DB.com to get started and find out just how hard we work to get you noticed.
Minutes past the hour, folks. You are tuned into Haunted Voices Live right here on WLTK-DB. And I wanted to get some upcoming guests, Nicole. We got some cool folks on the show here coming up.
Yeah, let's do that.
Next week, we've got Anna Brandemarch. She's going to be coming on, psychic medium. Also, March 24th, author, psychic medium Christina Bloom will be joining us on the show again.
Great.
Be nice to have her back. And March 31st, we've got medium Ane Shin. She's a trip, so we're gonna have a lot of fun.
Amazing,
and of
amazing.
Course,
I never knew how to pronounce her name. You just
I was not
sure. Now I know.
Ane.
It's a pretty name.
And tonight, of course, we have got the amazing Dr. Heather Leigh. We're talking about all kinds of great things. If you missed the first part of the show, we've got it all archived for you. Don't sweat it, folks. But we're kind of going to get into the community. We have all been in this field quite a while. We remember old school. We remember when the community actually used to get along a little bit. We used to share some things. We used to screw up and learn all kinds of things. Then things kind of turned toward the wayside. I mean, what happened is the question. Is the community is going in strides. It's discovering new things. I just don't think we're focusing on research like we used to. I just don't think we're focusing on it. What do you think, Heather? Do you think how do you think the community's changed over the years, as far as equipment, as far as techniques?
It's I don't want to say I'm disappointed, but I am a little bit. It's really sad, and I've experienced it more times than I ever would like to admit to it. But I think it's a combination of ego. Yeah. And what cracks me up is I've been accused of having an ego, and it's like, dude, I'm the furthest person. At least I feel I am, and that might be my ego showing. But I'm the first person, if you call me up and say, hey, I need help with something, I'll change my schedule to help you. I'll share evidence. I'll freely give evidence for you if you need it for a presentation or anything like that. I think the biggest problem is a combination of the TV shows, and people want to be the next best, greatest thing. And they feel in order to do that, they have to have the best evidence or have the best location that no one else goes to. And it's one of those things where they hoard it. Everybody's hoarding their information. Everybody's hoarding their evidence. And the only time I've ever withheld evidence is when I signed a non-disclosure agreement with a location that didn't want it out there that they were haunted, or when I signed on to do a documentary and the production company asked me to hold off until the video released. And then I was told I could share it however I want. Other than that, I'm always out there sharing everything. I share locations freely. I mean, even though there's a place in Vegas that I'm very particular about because I did volunteer there. It was my home. They welcomed me in, as part of their family for the museum. And they still use me today to kind of weed out I don't want to say undesirables, but the ones that aren't going to treat the property right. So I am protective of that, but there are some people that are very overly protective. I've run into many people who have said, we're the only team that's ever investigated this, and we're the only team that'll ever investigate it. And it's like, okay, thanks. Well, how can we prove or disprove that it's haunted?
Exactly.
Territorial.
Yep.
Territory and ego. And there are so many teams. The teams have exploded. Mm-hmm. The teams have truly exploded. And, I understand there's separate forms. You have an investigator, you have a researcher, you have an enthusiast. But when you have enthusiasts trying to mix in with
that's exactly what I was just going to say. Yep.
Investigators, it doesn't mix. It's like oil and water. I remember a community that would stand together. They would share their evidence. They would take others under their wing and let them know that, hey, that may be dust or a bug. That may not be an orb. They may do some of those things. Now it's LOL. I mean, you just see LOLs.
Yeah. And that's how I did a lot of my research. We would go to Gettysburg a lot, and I met Mark Nesbitt that does the Honey Gettysburg tours. And back then I was a teenager, and I felt bad for him because here I am, this little teenager that's geeking out, meeting him and wanting to talk about ghosts and asking 101 questions. But I viewed him as a mentor back then, even though he might not have realized it, mm-hmm. And he was willing to share. He was willing to take the time to talk to me. And nowadays I've had people come to me that are shocked I'm willing to talk to them. I've had people who've told me when I've asked them a question, go buy my book and find out.
Oh my God. I just can't wrap my head around that mentality. No. I cannot.
I know.
I mean, what is going on? And I honestly, maybe it's more of the younger generation coming in, but mm-hmm. I wouldn't say it's just them. I think it's a mix, but I think social media doesn't help at all.
Oh.
That right there is contributing to a lot of the problems, in my opinion.
Now, if you guys have noticed, we've all been in the field long enough prior to Facebook and so forth.
Yeah.
Since social media has been integrated, sure, it connects us all together, like-minded people. But what it's also done is it's completely separated the field, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You've got crypto over here. You've got UFOs over here. You've got metaphysical down here. It's all paranormal, in my opinion. And it was a way to separate. And mm-hmm. with today's technology, the way it is, and those big clouds where everything's stored in the cloud, why not have one community database that's checked by good people that know what they're doing, experienced people, and put these things up in a database for everyone to share and compare.
Yeah. I actually had a friend here in Florida who tried that. It was the International Bureau of Paranormal Investigations. And he had strict guidelines as to how we had to investigate if we wanted to be a part of the organization. And it was just so that way we could compare investigations and have the same, database across the whole organization. And he had 3 people interested.
Are you kidding?
And he just gave up the field. But his goal was to have a full database of everything. Every investigation had to have the weather, the ley lines, the geographic location. And it was all the same form. And you had to have multiple cameras in a location, not just one. And, and you had to be willing to share your evidence into this database. And I signed up right away. But he had 2 other people besides me and his own team and no one else. So he kind of canceled it. It was very depressing.
That is very depressing. I'm wondering if if he's willing to give that another shot.
No, I'm sure he would be. I talked to him a lot.
I mean, I would sign up for that.
Yeah.
I'd be right I'd be on top of
Oh
it.
my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And
ego's a big thing. Intention's a big too, but go ahead. Sorry, Heather.
Oh, no, I was going to say, he used to be a former sheriff's deputy.
Oh, see,
he also follows the guidelines of how they investigated crimes, and everything like that is included in it. And it was a great program, what he needed.
Amazing. There should be more crossover, I think, in terms of research with all of the other maybe most of the categories, I would say, because you can learn something from what cryptozoologists do, and you can apply those to ghost research and vice versa. So,
And who's to say they're not all interlinked somehow?
Exactly.
There's that possibility.
Courtney says this here, rather than getting some real information and sharing to get solid proof. And then she also said a lot of people selfishly want the experience more. So.
Amen, Courtney. Amen, Courtney. Yeah.
And I always tell people there's nothing wrong with being a paranormal tourist. Go on a tour.
Yeah.
Don't go investigate a client's home.
Yeah. Yeah. That's just not good. It's not a good thing to do. It should be common sense, which I think you have to buy these days. Amazon has it. I know that.
For $9.99.
They were sold out the last I checked.
They were sold out. I love it.
But with the community, I just want to see the next generation come through with something. With today's technology, you think we should. With all of this equipment being built, being constructed, being specifically geared for this field, you think we should discover something. And I hope and pray to God that they do. I don't think it's going to be the answer they're looking for. I just don't think that can be revealed. I don't know. I don't think we're supposed to know.
It's never going to happen if they keep doing the same experiments.
Yeah.
We know this experiment does X, Y, and Z. Okay, come up with a new one. You're never going to move forward if you're doing the same stuff that they've been doing for 10 years.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know it. Oh, sorry, Todd. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I know it gets redundant going in, setting up the equipment all the time, waiting, nothing happens, waiting, you lose interest. You just got to keep fighting. You just have to keep fighting.
Yeah. What about private residence cases? And let's say you get someone that emails you, okay, so I think that there's paranormal activity going on in my home. I have these photos or videos, whatever they may be. Can you review them? But yet in talking with them, you feel that they are without a reasonable doubt, they believe that what they have in that said video or photograph is paranormal. And no matter what you do to tell them that maybe it's not, it's like it starts a debate. I've noticed that's happened more so with me in the past. I have more of a procedure for that now, but I'm curious to see how you handle that. Because I'm seeing that a lot lately with people. They're just, that's it. They're convinced,
Right. Because of that, that's why since I started my new team, we really don't focus on residentials as much as I used to, because we want to do more of the scientific approach. We want to, my goal is to make this a science, not a pseudoscience. But when I was handling client cases, I ran into that a lot. And my favorite statement, especially being out in Vegas, and nothing against the guy, I've met him, he's great. I would hear a lot, that's not how Zach does it.
Yeah, oh yeah, I know. Yeah, but I've heard. I think we. I
But
know it's so sad.
But it's funny too, because when you can't change a client's mind. You can only provide them the information.
Exactly.
But when it comes to the evidence that they send to me, I won't even review it unless it has the EXIF information with it.
Thank you. Exactly.
Yep. And when it comes to actually handling a client case, it takes quite a bit of time before I would even go into their home. It was, we would do the video or the over the phone interview once we got their, paperwork. Then we would do a video interview so we can actually see their facial expressions and record it for the rest of the team to do it. Then you actually finally go to their home or meet them for coffee and conduct the interview all over again, just to make sure their answers are consistent. And when I was with the last team I was with, we did 2 residentials that we actually went into their home in the course of 2 years that I was with them. Because everyone else we either
debunked.
Even before we got, or they had some sort of psychological issue that needed to be taken care of beforehand, and they refused to get it taken care of.
Wow. Yeah. Well, see, that's just it. There's so much to weed out with a private residence case, mental illness, potentially physical problems, family dynamics, all of that. But yeah, I very rarely do private homes anymore for the same reason. It's sad, but it's just not worth it.
That and the liability is just too high these days.
It is. Yeah. That's another one.
You hear the horror, of these shootings, and you don't know who these people are.
Yep.
You don't
exactly.
They can put up a front just to get you in there. So it's you've got to be on your guard with that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Especially with the cost of the equipment we take in there. Who's to say that they're not going to mug us for our equipment and sell it?
I know. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? You got to be careful with that stuff.
I'm sorry, guys.
But it's good practice. And hopefully, it's definitely words to the wise there. Hopefully they take that, and residential investigations are tough. They're just tough all over. They're touchy, and the pros and cons. The cons usually outweigh the pros in most cases.
Yep. Yeah. I just more wanted to focus on getting scientific answers. And you can't really experiment in the client's home.
No.
Like you could, at a park or in a museum or some other location. You can experiment and take your time. In a client's home, you got to go with what because the last thing you need to do is walk in with some experimental equipment that you don't know how to operate, and you look like a complete idiot trying to make it work in front of the client, and then they lose all faith in you.
Yeah.
It disturbs them so much the pictures start flying off the wall. One of the two. You never know what could happen. But let's kind of switch gears. Get into your books a little bit, because you've written a several books, and the one about the Nevada mines, that one piques my curiosity. Because I'm just an old history mine buff and all that kind of stuff. And let's get into your books and your first book, and what made you put all of this knowledge to paper.
Okay. The first book was Haunted Southern Nevada Ghost Towns. And that one, it was interesting how this one came about. We received a call from Motion Picture Video. And it's funny because they were a company here in Florida, right where we live now, but they had moved to Vegas. And they wanted to film different ghost towns. It was supposed to be for Real Hunts Ghost Towns. And when they got talking to me, they're like, oh, well, your whole family investigates with you. Well, let's just feature a whole family, of paranormal investigators. So it was my husband, my son, and myself. We spent several days with this production company going to different locations. We went to Goldfield, Nelson, and we actually went into an abandoned mine in Nelson. Prior to filming with them, I had visited and investigated with a couple members of the team that I was on up at the Florence mine in Goldfield. And we actually had opportunities to go into a collapsed mine, as well as to the original mine shaft of the main, I think it was called the Rambler House section of the mine. And then the owner even invited us to spend the night in his main home for the night, which we had paranormal activity, like from the time we pulled into his driveway until the time we left. And we even think that we experienced some stuff on the way to Goldfield.
That whole
They
area
knew,
is just
the spirits knew we
insane.
were coming.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That whole
And
area, man.
because of all that research that I had done between filming, the TV pilot at the mine and then filming Real Haunts Ghost Towns, I was like, I already have all these notes. So I reached out to Arcadia Publishing, which does History Press and the Haunted America series, and said, hey, I have this book idea. What are your thoughts? They loved it. And then 3 months later, the book was written, sent in, and then it was published last fall. And it covers a lot of different ghost towns from Belmont south.
Nice. It's good to have books like that to give the researcher research, for crying out loud. And books are falling to the wayside these days. Everybody's going digital and everything's digital and
Never.
No, I love to hold a book in my hand. I'm sorry. I'm
Me
so
too.
old school. Oh my God, I love the
I
smell
can't read
of
a
it.
book.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't read a book with my thumb going up and down. I can't. That just doesn't, to me, that doesn't work. But
we stare at the screens enough during the day. Okay, we deserve a book in our hands. Oh my gosh.
No, but there's just craziness with them, and you've got a new one coming out, and it comes out this fall, right?
Yeah, I actually had one come out February 13th too. But the one this fall is going to be Haunted Florida Lighthouses.
Oh, that's the one.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, I love that. There's so many too there. My goodness.
Yes. Yeah, there's 30 in operation still today, but then there are several locations where the lighthouses just don't exist anymore.
Do you think you're going to get 2 books out of that, or you can fit it all in one?
No, actually, I'm struggling to get the word count up.
Oh my God. Well, you'll
Not
find
too many
something.
of them.
There's a lot of them, but not a lot of information available. That's where the problem was coming. Of course you have the history, and then but when you talk to people, it's I experienced strange noises. Well, you try to get them to talk more and they don't talk more.
Yeah.
Well, if you had to choose which one, and you can say which one of them do you think would be the most active so far that you've researched?
Of course, you would have the St. Augustine Lighthouse is very active, but the Sand Key Lighthouse out of Key West, it's the one that's in the middle of the Gulf.
Okay.
It's not even with lands, not even surrounding it. And people who snorkel out that way along the reef see apparitions sitting on the iron frame. They hear strange noises when they're, and it could be everything from, the iron structure creaking with the waves, but they hear moans, they hear howling. One person said that one story I talked to and found the backup online is they saw when they were maintaining the lighthouse, when it was still in operation, because it's no longer in operation, they had a skeleton floating in the water below them as they were working on the structure.
Whoa.
And when they went to go look closer at it, it just kind of disappeared. It didn't sink, but it just kind of faded.
Whoa.
And it was wearing, he said, like pirate gear, pirate type, what you would expect the pirates to wear.
Oh my, did it get released from the work maybe that they were doing, or was it always there?
I don't know.
Oh wow, that's
maybe
who knows?
It floated up from a boat, a
Right.
pirate ship that sank.
Yeah, and the reef
That
was
could
known
be.
for having ships crash into the reef a lot, which is why they put the lighthouse so far out instead of it being on land.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I would have checked his pockets, though.
I'd have taken photos. I'd have risk dropping my phone into the water.
I could always get a new phone, but then you wouldn't have that phone though. So
Right.
So these investigations you do with your family, which I think is amazing. I think teams that have family members involved are very more organized, I think, because it's a family unit. You all click.
No, they make me do all the work.
you love it. You love it.
Right.
What are some of your favorite investigations that you've been on so far as a family?
Well, there was one that my son and I did with another group, and it was a popular location that I had gone to several times before. And the reason why it's my favorite, and he's going to kill me for saying this, but it was in my book, so I really can't say I didn't want to include it. But he was the bathroom. Why bathrooms are haunted, I don't know. But the bathroom was known to be haunted. So he had to go. And I was like, okay, I'll walk with you. We went upstairs. And meanwhile, he's in there. And he, I'm outside in the hallway doing an EVP session. So my video recorder's going. And he peeks out of the bathroom. He's like, Mom, someone's banging on the wall in here. And I'm like, yeah, that happens in that bathroom. He's like, well, why? And this was his first investigation.
Oh.
And I'm like, because it's haunted. And he's like, oh. And I'm like, I go, are you done yet? He's like, no. I'm like, well, go finish. And then he looked back in the room and he's like, nope. And he comes running down the hallway. He's like, I'm done.
Oh, that's funny.
Enough. Yeah.
I'm out of here.
It was the cutest little thing. And this was 4 years ago. So he was only 15.
Oh, there's their minds at that age, And
that's hard to do, in a haunted location. If you everybody has to use the restroom, and it's hard to do that. And just use the one downstairs in the basement. Oh, sure, I'm on my way. No one wants to be downstairs in the basement alone.
It's like when I was researching my Vegas book that I did that came out February 13th, it was, MGM Grand's bathrooms were haunted. Caesar's Palace bathrooms are haunted. It's like, why is it the bathroom?
Always.
Or hallways. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's just so much with it. So much going on with this field. And I'm glad we had this little chat. There's just a lot of things that are great. There's a lot of things that aren't so great, but you know what? You got to weigh the good with the bad, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And just take it with a grain of salt and do what you think's best and
blaze your trail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, blaze your trail. You're right,
Your
Nicole.
trail.
Yep. I always tell people, you do you, and the other ones that aren't serious about the field are eventually going to fall off.
Yeah,
that's true.
And,
really
and that
is true.
happens.
Mm-hmm.
Once they see the work involved, usually that's what. You mean I got to carry those in? Not only that, but you've got to set them up.
Exactly.
Or my favorite is, you mean I got to spend 5 hours listening to audio?
Oh, but see, I love that. Is there something wrong with me? I don't think so. No.
Yeah. How in the world did you go through 20 hours of video footage in 5 hours?
Right. Oh my God.
Yeah. And that's to me, like you, Nicole, that's like Christmas.
Right. Oh my God. I love it.
I
play it like old reruns. I listen to because you never know what you're going to catch down the,
Yeah.
3 years later, you just put the headphones on and listen while you're working.
Absolutely.
Right. Oh, wait, there's a new, oh my gosh, I didn't hear that 10 years ago. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it totally retrains your brain, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Reboots it.
Yep.
Well, we've got just a few more minutes here. Get out your website, get out your books, get out all the information. The mic's yours, Heather. So let folks know how they can find you.
You can find me at heatherleighphd.com or explorationparanormal.com. Take you both to the same place. It's the website we have set up. I have my blog there, links to where you can find our documentaries, links to where you can find my books. You can also find me on Facebook at Heather Leigh PhD or Exploration Paranormal, or of course the show I host here on WLTK is Exploring the Paranormal on Tuesday mornings, and amazing lineup of guests coming up in the next couple months. So stay tuned for that. And you could always purchase the books. There's 2 of them out right now, Haunted Southern Nevada Ghost Towns, and then Ghosts and Legends of the Vegas Valley. And they're both available at arcadiapublishing.com. Or you can go to anywhere books are sold. Vegas has them all over the place in Walgreens and several museums. And you can also go to Amazon or any of your other bookstores.
Wow. Fantastic.
Wow. It has been an absolute pleasure having you on here. We're going to have you back on here again to have sit downs like this, because you're very easy to talk to. You're very knowledgeable.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
It's amazing. Thank you so much, Heather.
Thank you. You guys have a great night.
You do the same.
Bye, Heather. Good talking with you.
Bye. You too.
Bye.
My goodness.
Right.
That was a breath of fresh air. That was some good stuff to talk about, Nicole.
Yeah, she's amazing. I really do like her. Very knowledgeable, very passionate. We need people like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
every day, all day. We need people like that. We need to strengthen the field a little bit. I love this community. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
And I
I
just
do
want to
too.
see them work more, worry about fame less.
Exactly. It's about the research. It's about connecting with the energies. That's what it's about. It's not about yourself really at all. It's about like you said, it's about the research.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we all had a similar oath when we came in to research life after death. And that was our sole goal in this, is to maybe find that answer. I just want to see everybody work together and do it. And para-unity, that's just, there's going to be a different way. I think there's going to be a shift. There's going to be a change, and it's going to be a good change.
yeah, I do too. I mean, maybe I don't want to use the word laws because that, but maybe there needs to be more
Guidelines
and like a committee of people
Yes.
overseeing it, because then it would be just more accountable, and you're going to weed out, just the thrill seekers versus those that are really, going into the research aspect of it. So, yeah.
Yeah, we need a good board, a good group of people to lead, to open all this up, to welcome new people in, teach them the right ways and things of that nature.
Exactly.
Almost like a Jedi training school.
There you go. Right?
Like
I
that.
know. Oh man. I'd be there. Be there
It
in
would
a
just be a
heartbeat.
lot better. It would just be a lot better.
Yeah. I agree.
But we are going to go ahead and end this.
Good night,
And
Megan.
my goodness, be sure to check out all the new shows coming up. We've got Soul Guidance debuting March 22nd. We have got the new show with Nick Sarlo, Haunted Locations in 60 minutes. That debuts next week.
I'm looking
Wednesday.
forward to that.
Oh, the
All of
history
them.
alone. The history alone. He does all the work, so you don't have to, and he's doing it in 60 minutes. That's pretty.
A lot. That's a lot. Yep. He might have
pretty
two-parters
impressive.
there.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
You got anything coming up you want anybody to know about? Are you good to go?
Not really. Just my new upcoming book coming out either the end of this month or maybe first week of April. So that's coming up, and just booking some presentations and things of that nature. Just staying busy. That's how I roll.
That's all we can do is stay busy.
Right. Oh my gosh.
All right. Well, all you fine folks, be sure and check out the other shows on the station. If you missed the first part of this one, it'll be up in the morning. You can find that on our podbean.com, podbean.hauntedvoicesradio.com, excuse me. You can also find it right there on the website, WLTK-DB.com as well. So from all of us here, my goodness, have a fantastic weekend. You've earned it. Get some rest, have some fun out there, and stay safe if you're investigating.
Absolutely.
Night all.
Bye, guys.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTK-DB.com.